agree with that?
Well, I agree that it's a very effective thing against the incompetence, or relatively incompetence, which does not mean that the fellow...
Start off, if you will, start off saying,
Oh, yeah.
I heard Muhammad Ali's explanation.
Yeah. I heard Muhammad Ali's explanation, and I agree with him because he's fighting relative incompetence, inexperience. See, presently, the fighters, though they're competent in the sense that they have skill, they have abilities not learned and not known 30, 40 years ago or 50 years ago. But they lack other qualities which are necessary. The discipline, for example, the ability to make yourself do what needs to be done, and having the discipline to carry it out no matter how you feel within. This is the quality necessary to fight a Muhammad Ali. The ability to remain unaffected, unimpressed by the number of blows you may be receiving. And if you keep your chin down and your hands up, you will not be getting hit in vulnerable areas. And you will not be distracted by the movements, by the feints, and the other things that he does in order to confuse and frustrate you so that you open up and become vulnerable and a victim of his punches.
What about when he wiggled his head, wiggled his feet?
These movements and these so-called feints...
Start off by saying when he moves his head.
When he moves his head and he gives those feints and those unusual steps, these are done to distract and to untrack the opponent. And this, of course, can only happen to a non-professional person. And it is true that since it's most consistently successful, that they are unprofessional, and relatively so. It is my opinion that a man who's developed a proper sense of discipline, the ability to control his body, to make it do what needs to be done, which is the only measure of a true professional. Whether he wins or loses, he will do what needs to be done. He will suffer punches. He will take whatever he has to take, providing that it will give him the opening that he wants. And when he gets this opening, he'll be able to score the punch which will cause either his opponent, Muhammad Ali, to be hurt enough where follow-up punches could take him out in the manner of a Joe Louis, for example. A Joe Louis may be losing the fight for a number of rounds. And suddenly, because he appears to be hit rather easily, he may become somewhat careless. And this is the method, for example, Rocky would use. He tended to give a less than factual performance of defense. Actually, Rocky was never hit as solidly as people thought. Rocky Marciano was never hit as solidly as people thought. Very seldom. So that he did, however, by employing the methods that he used, the so-called awkwardness, the lack of smoothness, and so forth. He used this intelligently. It was used as a weapon by Rocky because of the fact that it lessened the opinion of the smart fighter of Rocky Marciano. In coping with him, the opponent would always think that this fella is not a good fight. He doesn't know how to fight. And his performance unconsciously would sometimes fall to that level, especially when given the pressure that Rocky gave. In the case of Muhammad, he used a different technique to carry out the same objective. He used these movements, the Ali shuffle, which would cause the opponent to be distracted, take his attention off what was happening. But a real pro would not be distracted. He would keep his hands up so that when he would get hit blows, as he calls amateurs, when they hit blows, instead of getting hit on the jaw, they would get hit on the arms, the elbow, the top of the head, but not in the vulnerable areas. Meanwhile, concentrating fully on those areas where he is vulnerable, and it is the body. Here, while he's throwing the punches here, you're punching here. In other words, he can cover this or move this and do that, but this here, you'll notice, is relatively stationary, so that a concentrated punch by a good hitter could affect him, at least to the point where it cuts down his usual speed or affects him. Or a series of these blows over a period of time may have the effect of slowing him up just enough, because his boxing depends on split-second timing. As he said before, he remains just exactly out of range. But the range is always a person who's leaning forward towards him, so that he can hit the fellow and the fellow can't hit him. But a man who has a good sense of timing as good as his, or almost as good as his, can force him to come closer. And then the sense of timing will determine whose left hand will get in there. And who knows whose left hand is better until it's put to the test. As far as I'm concerned...
We'll end this test. Knock it out. We'll pick it up.
37.
Okay, look, Cus Punches, you're a man of boxing. I would say you're scientific, you're creative, you're artistic. You brought up Floyd Patterson. I would say you're one of the greatest boxing teachers or trainers ever lived. Now, this Ali shuffle that I've perfected, many people say it's clowning, they say it's joke, it's not sincere. What would you have done, or what would you advise a good fighter to do when I do the shuffle? Now, you must remember, the second I do the shuffle, whatever you have planned, you're going to either forget it or you're going to look at my feet.
Well, that's what you say. I don't think I would do that.
Just demonstrate something. Let me show you.
Demonstrate with who?
You're a little too old to really fight. I'm just going to show you something.
You're going to take off your coat.
No, just take your coat off a minute.
I got to take mine off,
Take your
too?
coat off. I'm going to show you something. Now, number one, first of all, I said the shuffle is so fast, it confuses you. Now, what would you do when I did the shuffle? Most people forget what they're doing for a minute. It confuses them for a second. All I need is a fraction of a second. Or you either look down or you're confused. Now, what would you do if you was a fighter?
You did what?
I did all these shuffles.
Well, you just telling me.
Why are you getting on guard?
Well, listen, I think you're going to do the shuffle.
I done did it. You didn't see it?
That's
It's
right.
over.
So fast
It's
I couldn't see.
No, seriously, the shuffle is just, I'm bouncing. Don't hit me now.
Go ahead.
I'm not in shape. I'm a little out of shape. I'm jumping around. And for a minute, whatever, put your guard up. You're not going to be doing this in the ring.
That's
That's your
right.
position?
That's right.
Well, that's your position. And we are boxing. And for a minute, I'm doing the shuffle.
That's what I would do.
You're not as dumb as you look.
That's right. That's right. I do.
That was pretty good. But let me show you something. You can go through the same move again.
Oh, now you know.
All right, what's your next move going to be?
Well, that I wouldn't tell you. I might fight you
Well, you don't
someday.
have to tell me. Put your guard up. I'm getting ready to do the shuffle again.
No, now you're going to give me the consequence.
No, you done run out of
Go ahead.
moves.
Let's do it again.
You know
All
nothing
right,
else
go
to
ahead.
do.
I know now you know what to do.
See, same thing.
Bing! That's what I would do next. Go ahead. What else?
Well, I'm a little out of shape. I'm jumping around. And for a minute, whatever, put your guard up. You're not going to be doing this in the ring.
That's
That's your
right.
position?
That's right.
Well, that's your position. And we are boxing. And for a minute, I'm doing the shuffle.
That's what I would do.
You're not as dumb as you look.
That's right. That's right. I do.
That was pretty good. But let me show you something. You can go through the same move again.
Oh, now you know.
All right, what's your next move going to be?
Well, that I wouldn't tell you. I might fight you
Well, you don't
someday.
have to tell me. Put your guard up. I'm getting ready to do the shuffle again.
No, now you're going to give me the consequence.
No, you done run
All
out
right,
of
go ahead.
moves.
Let's do it again.
You know
All
nothing
right,
else
go
to
ahead.
do.
I know now you know what to do.
See, same thing.
Bing! That's what I would do next. Go ahead. What else?
Well, now, you knew what I was going to do, too.
No. Well, that's right, because I knew that I only left
what
certain
about-
areas you could hit me.
What about in real combat? If this was a real fight and you were a young fella and you're about 7th, 8th round, you're hot, you're sweating, you're tired, you're frustrated, you're exhausted, and then I did the shuffle, you probably couldn't think that.
Oh, yes, I could, because I would be a disciplined fighter before I fought you. And any fighter that would have fight you would be disciplined enough to do what I asked him to do, otherwise he'd never fight you. Because unless the fighter that I had knows how to do what I want him to do, which I know is necessary to be done in order to beat you, I wouldn't let him fight you.
So just because he can get past the shuffle with a body punch or so, you think that'll beat you?
No, not that. But every fighter develops...
What about the people that I've already put the shuffle on and
Well,
made it
let's
work?
not talk about these people.
What you mean now let's not talk
Let's
about
talk
them?
about the people or the fighter that I would handle if I were handling
Think
them.
of a heavyweight champion in history that
Well,
you
that's
would have
true.
picked.
No,
Think
not
of
them.
one.
No, I wouldn't.
Think of one of the
No.
past champions that you would have told how to beat me.
All I can say is anybody that I would work with that was disciplined enough, when I mean disciplined, be able to carry out
You
what...
mean crazy enough to get
No.
in the ring with me?
Well, put it that way if you like. Now, there are some fighters, most fighters develop a pattern. A pattern is a method by which they do something which they're not aware of themselves.
You must remember that was a pattern you just used. First of all, when I did the shuffle, your move was here, which left you open here.
No, that's what you
Then
said.
the
Here's what I
second
did.
time,
No, wait,
huh?
you're saying that.
I saw you.
I
That's
just
what you
did.
did. That's what you
I
did.
was not open there. I never do that. Never do that.
No, you must realize.
No, I
you're
do
kinda
realize.
Short.
No, I
you're
never
kind
do
of
that.
short, and a younger fella couldn't get to me as quick as you did.
Now, let me say this. I never do what the other fellow wants me to do. You see? I have to develop enough discipline.
A great enough fighter could make you do what he wants
Well, he
you to
could
do.
try. and then would be a contest.
Or in
as to
other
who could make
words,
who do what.
in other words, if I'm ranked by many people as one of the fastest in history, and if you're telling me that chauffeur wouldn't continually work on you, you're telling me that if you was fighting, you would be one of the greatest in all history too.
Not exactly. You see,
No,
everybody.
that's what you're saying. You're telling me that you would have been one of the greatest.
A man is only
I'll
as
tell
good
you
as
what,
his
we don't
weakness.
have to argue in front of the camera. Let's take a ride. Come on, you take a walk with me. Let's talk to
All right.
Steve.
Settle down. Anytime you're ready.
If Jack Dempsey had fought me, I'm not asking you to speak in his favor, my favor. You're a boxing scholar. You don't have to exercise with me. But just from what you know and your experience, taking Floyd Patterson, one of the fastest and best heavyweights you've had when he was fighting, and bringing him up from nothing to something, I want to know, what's your opinion? What do you think I would have done with Jack Dempsey? Would I have stood a chance with Jack Dempsey, truthfully?
I think it would have been no contest in your favor. Dempsey had a basic vulnerability to your style of fighting.
Now, I want to stop you here. I appreciate you saying that it was no contest in my favor. This is honor to me. But Jack Dempsey, you know who you're talking about. Jack Dempsey was one of the greatest fighters and ranked that we've ever had. Now, you said wouldn't have stood a chance. Now, that's kind of hard now. Henry Cooper stood a chance. Sonny Liston stood a chance. Patterson stood a chance. Carl Miltenberg of Germany stood a chance. Cleveland Williams stood a chance. So you're going to tell me now that these fellas I fought would be equal to Jack Dempsey in fighting ability and hitting power and stamina?
No,
you
this
saying
is a matter.
You saying a lot when you say Jack Dempsey wouldn't have stood a chance. Now, I really believe I would have beat him, but I don't know how easy. It may be easy, maybe not. But when you say so confidently that he wouldn't have stood a chance, now what do you mean by that? Maybe I'll give you out. Maybe you said that
Well,
wrong.
it's very simple.
Demonstrate. I mean, what do you mean he wouldn't have stood a chance? Jack Dempsey? Whew, boy, they run you out of New York City talking like that about Jack Dempsey.
I only give the facts. I analyze the situation coldly and calmly and impersonally. The people involved had nothing to do with it. This is a matter, you doing something and I do something else. Dempsey, while he was aggressive and determined and very, very persistent, he had one basic fault. In pressing his man, he would lean forward like this. And this is the way he would lean involved, like this.
You mean I could hit him that easy?
Well, no, you see, this is what I mean. You get out there and you throw the chair. Now, you could hit my head and score on me, but I can't score on you, no matter what I do.
Dempsey fought?
See? That's the way he fought. Was head forward like that. Now, in order for him to get, he has to be able to get like this. Now you have to come closer. Bang, bang. As you move, ice. We both try to beat each other. Now I have a chance. The other way, he had no chance. His head was always there. You could tap him all night long with your eyes closed, do a couple of your fancy jigs.
Well, I'll have to watch some
Look the other way, wave to a couple of friends.
I would say this, if Jack Dempsey fought like you was just saying, if he's that easy to hit, I would agree he wouldn't have stood a chance. But I have to look close at his films to see if this
He
is
constantly presses forward like this.
You're not looking nowhere. You're not looking nowhere.
That's exactly where he would look up, and when he looked up, his chin came up. When he looked up to see, his chin came up, and then you see what would happen.
So you're telling me now that Jack Dempsey, every once in a while he would look up, but I know he would like this. You mean tell me?
Well, no, he would go like this. Like this. And he would bend a little bit, but he was always moving like this with his head forward.
Pretty good for old man.
Well, that's the way he moved. And for this reason, he becomes vulnerable to your style. It meant that you could hit him with the jab, and he couldn't reach you. You'd have to leap.
Well, we'll pause.
Like the type of punch he hit Jing Tunney with. He had to leap with a long left hook.
We don't want to waste too much time. We'll just take a look now and see what Jack Dempsey actually did. We'll watch the film, because I really can't believe I beat him that easy.
Well, I don't know how easy you think you'd beat him, but I know that he would be very vulnerable to your style. It's a matter of style.
So in other words, if it was a decision fight, I would win it.
Without a question in my mind.
Cut. Anytime you want.
Gus, I want to ask you a question. What do you think would have happened if I fought Rocky Marciano? And before you talk, I want to say this. Now, I fought George Chuvalo of Canada, who had a lot of the style like Marciano. He took a lot of punches. He kept coming, about the same height. He was short, threw roundhouse punches. It went 15 rounds. I couldn't knock him out. I really tried. He wouldn't fall. Took everything he could throw to the body, but he wouldn't fall. Now, I'm sure you would rank Rocky Marciano much greater than George Chuvalo, right?
Without question.
Now, I had a hard time with George Chuvalo.
Oh, you didn't have a hard time.
What I mean is I hit him when I won't,
That's right.
and I won it easy on points, but I really couldn't knock him out, and he kept coming.
That's
And I would say Marciano was twice as good. Now, after hitting Rocky Marciano so much, and he keep coming, and I would say he hit harder than Chuvalo and could hold the pressure more. Now, wouldn't I have caught a little hell with Rocky Marciano?
In my opinion, Rocky Marciano would have given you the toughest fight of all these other opponents, even though he may not be skillful.
Even tougher than Joe Louis, Jack Johnson,
Well, in my
Jack
opinion,
Dempsey, Gene Tooney, Johnny L. Sullivan, all these old fighters.
Although don't mention Sullivan, these fellows. No, we're talking about fellows who can fight.
Oh, Sullivan
That,
couldn't fight.
that had skill. He was a professional with the courage, the determination, and all the other qualities of a true professional. But he lacked the skill of the modern day fighter.
So Marciano gave me the toughest fight of everybody.
That's right, for one reason. While he had the aggressiveness, and I think far more aggressive than Jack Dempsey, and the determination and so forth, the only difference between him and Dempsey, he was able to sustain his aggressiveness, his aggression, constantly throughout the whole fight and never stop punching. And he did not have the vulnerability Dempsey had. For example,
Take his
oh,
coat off here.
all right, you take the coat off.
You don't mind, do you?
Not at all, as long as you don't hit me.
Well, I'm not going to hit you. If I hit you 7 days from now, you'll be a week-old ghost.
True. As I said before, Dempsey would lean forward, making him vulnerable to your jab when he couldn't hit.
Was Dempsey that? Hold it. Oh, I've got one thing to say. Now, Dempsey, I understand, was 6'2".
I wouldn't. Height
Which
doesn't have
means he
anything.
was
You know, height has nothing to do
but
with
his
it.
reach was longer than yours.
The
Now,
reach has
when you
nothing
threw
to
those
do with it.
punches,
It's a matter
you
of
stopped.
timing. You know that.
Hold it now. Got
Timing.
your spot. Got
Timing.
your spot. When Dempsey, when I would jab at Dempsey like this, and how would you throw a punch now?
Well, how could anybody
Throw your
throw a
punch.
punch? You couldn't
Now,
throw.
if Dempsey was holding
You
now,
couldn't
see
throw.
why you fall
You can't
short.
reach
See, well, Dempsey might because he was
No,
6'2".
he couldn't. Look, he couldn't because he was too far away. Now, Marciano, on the other hand, would be aggressive, but somewhat different. He would not lean forward. He would lean to the side.
Yeah.
That means you have to come closer to him.
Right.
See? Now,
I see, yeah, well,
you
now
see? Now when you come closer, he can hit you if you ever try to jab
Yeah.
or to the side, or if he got too much room to take your punch and then hit there. And if he landed, he would follow up.
Yeah.
In other words, he would draw you closer by virtue of the fact he did not have that what I consider a bad fault of
Well,
leaning forward.
well,
He
say what-
leaned to the side,
wait,
and he was
wait.
constantly aggressive.
This is not me talking. This is you.
Yes, of course.
Say me and Rocky fought. He was at his best. I was at mine. What you said had been a knockout of decision.
Well, let me say
who would
this.
win?
I think it might be a knockout. It might be. But however, the fight itself
Oh,
would
who
be
knocked who out?
the fight itself would be determined in the last few rounds.
Who knocked who out?
I'd rather not say right now. I'd rather not say. In my opinion, the fight, the end result of that fight would be determined in the last few rounds.
Who knocked who out?
Well, if he got to your body and other parts of your body,
he could have got
often
me,
enough,
or probably I got him. Is that it?
he would
He could've
absorb
went
that.
either way.
He would absorb it.
Oh, he would have absorbed mine.
In other words, he was professional enough to take what he had to take without affecting his determination, his aggressiveness.
He would have absorbed my punches, but I wouldn't absorb
I
his.
don't know. We would have to find that out
Let's take
with
a,
you.
Let's take a walk.
Okay, room tone, everybody quiet.
Ali, look at the mic here. You don't get too far away from the mic.
Roll up.
Now, what would have happened if I fought Joe Louis?
Well, my answer to this question.
Now, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Just
no,
tell
that's
us
quite
truth.
all right.
I'm
My
not-
answer, I
I'm not
want
gonna
you.
hit you. Just what would happen?
Every other question I could answer because I would answer impersonally. But I have something with the Joe Louis. I admired him greatly as a fighter, and I I feel that sometimes my feelings are so strong for him as a fighter, as a person as well, that it may bias me in my judgment. However, I do believe that he would have been very effective. And he had something which most people forget that he had, a great left hand, which was like, which packed the power of some other boxers' right hand. He would hit you just a series of left jabs over a period of time that would cause the face to be puffed up, banged out.
Let's get to the point. Who the one? Who would you pick if you had to pick? You both was out there, near Joe Louis.
I told you I'm emotionally involved.
I'm telling you, with his slow shuffling and walking style and my dancing style, and I'm at my best, he's his best. Who would you say won?
You know, Joe Louis once said this.
Why do you keep beating around the bush?
I'm not. I'm just saying one thing. Joe Louis said this once. A man could run, but he can't hide.
Oh, that's understandable. And
All
then I have another saying. And you said how hard his jab was. I have a saying, too. He may be able to hit hard, but it means nothing if you can't find nothing to hit.
Well, he could beat you to the jab, too.
But he's got to... Look, now, you forgot my footwork.
You have to come close enough to hit him. If you come close enough to hit him, he can hit you, too.
What's the question? Who would you bet on at the best, me or Joe Louis?
Well, my feelings would lead me to Joe Louis.
Well, what can you demonstrate?
Well, I'll show you. Let me have your coat. Let me have your coat.
You really want me to take off my coat?
Yes, take off your coat. I really do. Now, I don't say that I could do what Joe Louis would do.
I don't understand you couldn't do that.
But I think that I can convey the idea.
Now,
I hope I can.
Now, how did Joe stand? Let me see his go.
Well, he would have his head a little lower than I would like, which would make him actually more effective for you.
That's him.
However, I think he would depend on his jab.
Jab.
When you started your jab, like you jab, he would do that and constantly press. When you he wouldn't wait for you to throw. When he thinks you jab, he jabs. Jab.
Look where I'm at, though.
That's right.
Look where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm moving. Joe wasn't that fast.
All right.
Joe
That's
wasn't
what
that
you
fast.
said. But he didn't have to be fast.
No, see,
you know
you're
why?
faster than Joe Louis.
You move. Go ahead, you move. You don't have to be fast.
The way I move?
Go ahead, you move.
Now, you know, I'm doing this. See, I'm moving. Watch it, old man.
That's what would happen. In other words, you would move and he would move with you.
No, he don't move with you.
But he did.
He didn't move with
He did.
We'll watch the fight films. Joe Louis didn't move with nobody. Number one, he didn't meet nobody half as fast.
True.
How could you
grant all
rank
this.
me with Joe Louis?
I'll tell you how.
Did he catch me?
I'll tell you how.
Man.
Every fighter has an area of vulnerability.
Anytime you're ready. If Jack Dempsey had fought me, I'm not asking you to speak in his favor, my favor. You're a boxing scholar. You don't have to exercise with me. Just from what you know and your experience, taking Floyd Patterson, one of the fastest and best heavyweights we've had when he was fighting, and bringing him up from nothing to something. I want to know, what's your opinion? What do you think I would have done with Jack Dempsey? Would I have stood a chance with Jack Dempsey, truthfully?
I think it would have been no contest in your favor. Dempsey had a basic vulnerability to your style of fighting.
Now, I want to stop here. I appreciate you saying that it was no contest in my favor. This is honor to me. But Jack Dempsey, you know what you're talking about. Jack Dempsey was one of the greatest fighters and ranked that we've ever had. Now, you said Whitmer stood a chance. That's kind of hard now. Henry Cooper stood a chance. Sonny Liston stood a chance. Patterson stood a chance. Carl Miltenberg of Germany stood a chance. Cleveland Williams stood a chance. So you going to tell me now that these fellas I fought would be equal to Jack Dempsey in fighting ability and hitting power and stamina?
No,
you saying a lot. You saying a lot when you say Jack Dempsey wouldn't have stood a chance. Now, I really believe I would have beat him, but I don't know how easy. It may be easy, maybe not. But when you say so confidently that he wouldn't have stood a chance, now what do you mean by that? Maybe I'll give you an out. Maybe you said that wrong.
It's very simple.
Demonstrate. I mean, what do you mean he wouldn't have stood a chance? Jack Dempsey? Whew, boy, they run you out of New York City talking like that about Jack Dempsey.
I only give the facts. I analyze the situation coldly and calmly and impersonally. The people involved have nothing to do with it. This is a matter of you doing